Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, welcome to the Saturday News. My name is Phil Chambers and I am here with Gareth Morgan over on one of these sides. I don't know which one, but before we get going, make sure to like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's stories, subscribe to the channel, and in the timestamps in the description below, click them to go to whatever specific story you want to hear about. But first up, big news coming out of WWE in the fact that they have released a certain Zelina Vega. Now, this one's quite an interesting one, all in all, because basically the way it went down at 10:46, I think it was, last night, Zelina Vega tweeted, "I support unionization," and then 10 minutes later, WWE put out a statement saying that we wish her the best in all of her future endeavors, obviously. Now, I'm assuming these two aren't completely connected, because firing someone 10 minutes after seeing a tweet is quite a big deal, so I would have assuming, obviously, that WWE fired her, then she put out the tweet, and then they released the statement. But this comes on the back of a lot of things happening in WWE, obviously with the independent contractor issue coming up with Twitch streams and Cameo and all the things like that they are now banning and completely taking on board as part of the WWE thing that they're going to have to do as part of being independent contractors for WWE. So obviously Zelina Vega was big on Twitch, so you've got to imagine that is coming back very, very quickly. If you want to go support her on Twitch, it's A to Z on YouTube. Probably no better time to go and support her than now. She's also A to Z on YouTube, so you can go and subscribe to that channel. In terms of Zelina Vega herself, I think she'll be okay. I think AEW would be stupid not to pick up Zelina Vega. She was absolutely brilliant as the manager of Andrade, really got him over on the main roster. As bad as that booking was for their little stable, they seemed they just really, really wanted to destroy that stable, didn't they? Mm-hmm. So the amount of talent that she's got in the managerial position is fantastic. She's great on the mic. She's a great character. And she's also shown recently that she's getting much, much better in the ring. So I think she'd be an asset to pretty much any company at this point, especially something like AEW that could need a bit of a jolt in the women's division, shall we say. So I think she'll probably be okay coming out of this, but it's going to be interesting to see if more people start kicking up a stink about the Twitch and Cameo stuff, more issues on the unionization front come up. Obviously Paige has kind of hinted at things before, and it's also interesting to see that maybe there are talks within the locker room now with the unionization issue, because they have priors with this. WWE back in 1990, I think it was, Jesse Ventura brought up the unionization issue with the entire locker room, and then that got squashed because Hulk Hogan decided to go to talk to Vince McMahon and warn him about this issue. And then, yeah, we all know what happened after that. So these has happened before. WWE have been very vocal about how they do not want unionization. So yeah, we're going to have to wait and see if this is just the sort of start of a waterfall of things, or whether this is them quickly trying to nip this in the bud and make an example of Zelina Vega.
Yeah, I feel like it does stink of that a little bit, of them just saying, right, you thought we were just messing around, you thought this was a two-way discussion thing. It's not. If you don't listen to what we want to do, you're out. Because Zelina Vega, I remember quite rightly, it feels like a couple of weeks back, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, that she was being talked about as like the next coming of Stephanie McMahon backstage or something. Like, they were so high up on her. Vince McMahon was singing her praises. She was getting all these lovely spots. So I thought it was a bit curious, obviously, when she suddenly got moved over to SmackDown, she just got battered by Bianca Belair, and then she got beaten in that triple threat. It was a bit like, you wouldn't necessarily draw like the dots together straight away and be thinking, is she about to be on the way out? But it's just a shame. Well, I say it's a shame. It's a shame for anybody who enjoyed Zelina Vega on the WWE product, which was difficult at times when she wasn't really being given the chance to showcase what she can do, because not many people can do that in WWE. But equally, it's a great thing now for her, because you can just imagine the entire wrestling fandom now completely rallying behind her, because yeah, she's almost like a martyr of this entire situation. She's probably going to go. You don't want to just say, yeah, everyone's just going to jump over to AEW, but this is one of those that just makes sense. It was like when Miro left, you just thought, yeah, that kind of, yeah, I can see him there. And this is another one where AEW's women's division could use somebody who's a hell of a talker and who's improving every single time she steps into the ring. She could be a part of this next generation of talents that we're seeing now emerging in AEW, this new crop of talents that are going to be probably upholding that division for some time. So there's a lot to deal with. There's a lot to kind of get your head around with this one. But speaking of things that there's a lot of...
Just before you move on, completely ruining your segue.
No, it's just fine, Phil.
On the unionization issue, we did do a video, and Michael Humpert wrote a really great article about it, which I'll put in the I thing, whichever corner of the screen it goes in. So click that if you want to know a little bit more.
Not giving you a segue now, Phil. Ruined it. Absolutely ruined it. So, house shows. Let's talk about house shows. Recently, you would have noticed that there's been a few firings in the world of WWE. There's been a few releases that all seem to be associated with the house show loop, the people that are involved in that. So we had one of the most high-profile names was Tony Chimmel. He's gone, but now we're getting a bit more information that seems to suggest that house shows could be finished for good, and this is all according to Dave Meltzer. He said that there was recent contract talks between WWE and the talents, and it seemed to be that they were trying to establish that the way of touring right now, the way that we've been so used to over the last how many years, decades, it seems to be dead, regardless of what situation the world is in right now, what's going to be happening in the next year or two. It just seems like it's done. They're going to be moving in different directions. They're probably going to be focusing more on the likes of Cameo and Twitch and things like that. But it's quite perplexing because they did release that, I believe it was a survey, might have even just been yesterday or the day before. They released a survey that said, how would you feel about coming back into live shows and doing the live show format in the first couple of months of 2021? So whether they've had those results back very quickly, and it seems like nobody is going to be that interested in watching live shows at this point in time, which is a little bit understandable, as there's something going on right now in the world, regardless of the vaccine now becoming available very soon and all the rest of it. It's a very interesting, it's very intriguing moment in time right now for WWE, because if that is the case, if that is the truth, and house shows are done, that's sort of the end of an era, really, and it's come out of nowhere. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it.
Absolutely. House shows have been a huge part of the core structure of WWE for a very, very long time now. The whole point of WWE was that it was the touring brand. It was the company that ran like 300 shows a year or whatever it was. So it is a huge, huge change of direction. Goes to show, though, I mean, they're making record-breaking profits this year, so maybe they're thinking the hassle and extra admin and things of having to run a touring schedule, which is not easy. The sort of team required behind that is absolutely massive. If they're thinking maybe they don't have the people that can draw enough to make it worthwhile, which is, I mean, their own fault, let's face it, they've got the talent to do it. It's not like they don't have the talent there. But yeah, it's just another huge change in WWE structure. I guess it's got to, I mean, we don't know the underlying monetary issues behind it. They've got to have a reason. Yeah. I guess they just feel like it's just not worth it anymore.
If it means that stars are just going to get really nice reduced schedules, I honestly don't mind.
Yeah.
In if you're going to look at it from that perspective, because they need a break, all right? And that's been one of the few silver linings in this entire weird, horrible 2020 situation, where people have just been able to go to one place every single week and not have to spend weeks and months away from the family. So
I'm have to drag their injured bodies onto tiny little airplane seats and things.
Yeah, that's...
Although you do wonder if that's going to end up with a pay cut for the wrestlers, because they won't be doing the live schedule and they are independent contractors after all, so they only get paid for the appearances that they make.
It's whenever there's a positive, they'll just find a way. They'll just find a way to beat you over the head with a horrible hammer-shaped negative.
Anyway, moving away from WWE for a little bit at least, AEW Full Gear was obviously the other weekend, and I've got some information on the buy rates that it did. It apparently did 100,000 buys to a live crowd of 850 paid fans, with about 1,000 people there in total, with like sponsors and all the other people involved. Which is really good news for AEW, especially in the whole global crisis era. The business is staying pretty steady. I've got some information on older pay-per-views. So All Out and Revolution this year both drew an estimated 100 to 110,000 buys, so it's staying pretty steady for that. Double or Nothing in May drew an estimated 115 to 120,000 buys. And then Full Gear from last year drew around 90,000 to 100,000 buys. So if anything, sort of staying steady, if not going up a little bit year over year. But yeah, just generally good news from AEW.
Yeah, it's brilliant right now in this situation to be drawing that many people and get that many people even interested in wrestling. It was a hell of a pay-per-view, so it deserves that number.
Well, yeah, it was stacked.
And, like if you just look how much is an AEW pay-per-view, it's probably around, is it like 15, 20 quid, something like that?
I don't even know. Yeah, something like that.
Probably along those lines. So you quickly do the math there, 100,000. It's not too shabby. And
yep.
I think AEW is only going to go from strength to strength. If this is the number that they're drawing in the middle of a awful situation, then look what they're going to do when people get back in that arena. And I think also getting that many fans in an arena and making it safe and making it, we're not hearing of constant outbreaks in AEW. You hear about the odd case or somebody being involved or near somebody who's had it, but not like, oh my God, that one event that you saw, it's led to everyone that's just not happened, which I think you need to salute that. I think that goes under the radar a little bit with AEW, that whatever they're doing right now seems to be working in terms of their precautions, their health protocols that they have in place. Not sure how to segue this one. Let's talk about things that aren't necessarily as well run. SmackDown, because that was obviously, I think it was reported, there was a few news outlets saying that SmackDown was pretty much written on the fly last night. It didn't really have a whole lot of structure. But it turned out to be not a bad show, which just shows you even WWE's craziness can affect our blue show, which is a lot better than the red show. It is so much better. We love it. And a lot of stuff went down. We had the end. It seems like it is. This is it this time. We had the end of Bayley and Sasha last week. This week we've got the end of Mysterio Rollins. That feud, that little head-to-head seems to be over. The entire thing doesn't necessarily seem to be over, because I think Rollins and Murphy are going to fight again, which, you know what, if that is the end of the end, part 2, like Requiem and all the rest of it, I'm fine with that, okay? That's that. But I think the biggest talking point coming out of SmackDown is undoubtedly the debut of Chelsea Green, because it was lovely seeing her. She popped up, like, it was in a bit of a backstage segment with Natalya, and like she walked off because she was in another triple threat, that's all WWE can do right now when it comes to the Survivor Series women's SmackDown team. They just put everyone in a triple threat. And then Chelsea Green popped up and she was like, eh. So I thought, oh, she's in the triple threat. She wasn't. She was added, and it was a fatal 4-way in the end. But in the first minute of the match, she got knocked off the apron, I think it was, and she disappeared. And I was a bit like, that's a bit odd. And then Liv Morgan won the match, and I was like, okay, Liv Morgan had a pretty good showing in that. She looked really good, to be honest. She was pretty much pulling out code breakers left, right, and centre, which I think Chris Jericho's going to have a thing or two to say about that. But it then got revealed later on that Chelsea Green had actually broken her wrist on her debut. Not a good start, but it is what it is. So that match finish was changed, because Chelsea Green was supposedly going to be the big winner there, and you would have had her then on the Survivor Series team. She would have been probably a big focal point going into that event. But no, Liv Morgan had to jump in and suddenly win the match, and that was a Fightful Select obviously reported this, that she's broken a wrist, and like that's how everything's just gone up in the air. It was just hectic and insane. She also wrote on Instagram, I'm just going to read off her a little caption here. She put a picture, she was in a hospital bed with a little thumb up, like, great, lucky me. And she put, just another twist in my WWE story tonight. If you wondered where I went after my entrance, here's your answer. Another broken arm. Nothing I haven't dealt with before. I'll be back before you know it. Blue heart emoji. So she said broken arm, broken wrist. It's there, and it's not good.
Yeah, not at all. I was ready, watching SmackDown this morning, I was ready to rage on this, going like, what are you doing, debuting Chelsea Green? And then she loses in her first match, and then I realised that, wait, no, she did just kind of disappear in that match. I wonder what's up, and then I researched it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. If you don't know much about Chelsea Green, go and watch all her hot mess stuff from Impact Wrestling. It's really fun, really entertaining. She's great, she's got a lot of upside, and yeah, it's just really, really sad to go this way on your debut. I assume she was supposed to win the match, you've got to imagine, and they called it on the fly.
That was it. It was all on the fly. She was scheduled to win, and then it was described as hectic. So it's just really sad news. Nobody wants that, and especially not on your debut onto the main roster. But yeah, I have no doubt that she will be back at some point.
And whenever she does, I think she'll do really good things because I think she has a lot of upside, and I am a big fan of Chelsea Green. So hopefully she gets the proper debut that she deserves one day down the line.
And at least SmackDown haven't just lost another woman in that division.
Oh, yeah, at
least we've got a fully stacked division full of competitive athletes.
So that was today's news. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to continue the conversation, you can talk to us on Twitter. You can follow me at FillMyChambers, and you can follow Gareth
at GMorgan04.
And you can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's news stories. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye.
See you later.